The Public Accounts Committee has warned the auctioneer involved in the sale of 24 vehicles at the Ministry of Agriculture that he could be punished for perjury. Alex Smart is currently being grilled together with the director and acting chief director at the ministry over the matter. Members of the committee are unhappy Mr. Mart is trying to be dishonest with them. The probe comes after the Auditor General raised red flags over the auctioning of 24 vehicles by the ministry, describing the process as non-transparent, unfair and uncompetitive. Here's Mr. Mart's answering questions there.
That when it comes to auctions, they have to be advertised in national dailies so that the process is seen to be competitive and free and fair and open to the general public. But if you read paragraph 38 on page 16 and 17, we are told that there are 24 auctions were done. Only one of the 24 was advertised, and that's the one in Ho. Now, even that one that was advertised, the adverts were placed in the Ghanaian Times from the 3rd and 4th of July 2013. But the auction itself took place on the 4th and 5th. So it means whilst the auction, the publication was on, the auction was going on. Then, if you also read further on page 17, that same paragraph, we are made to understand that of all the 24 auctions that happened, all 23 that weren't advertised, the sale prices were at the reserved price because it looks like no auction took place. In the one instance where the advert was placed, and even in that case, the auction took place while the advert was running, we had a higher price than was reserved. I want to understand, as an auctioneer, and this goes to the auctioneer, as an auctioneer, are you clearly versed with the processes of auction? And why didn't you advertise the 23 auctions? Because that one, it's part of the law.
Honorable Chairman, I did adverts, but when the auditors came, they asked me about this question that they haven't found any attach of publication to my report that I submitted. And what I told them was, I didn't know that I have to attach the publication in the first place, because anytime we do publication, I just call them that I'll be auctioning in maybe next week, so they should do publication for me. Then they carried it out for me. So if not this audit, I will have
order. So are you a professional auctioneer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Honorable George, do you have a follow-up question?
So,
okay, go ahead.
Chairman, I want to find out from the auctioneer how long he's been a licensed auctioneer, how many auctions he's carried out previously, and why he did, and he should clarify from his answer, did he do the publications and fail to attach them, or he did not do the publications at all? Because from what he's saying, you can't make that clear. Were the publications done and you did not attach them, or the publications were not done at all? So I'll take it again. Are you a licensed auctioneer? Are you a licensed auctioneer? How long have you been practicing? Which other auctions have you taken part in? And then answer this one. It's a complex question.
I want you to, whenever a member is asking question, please, let's listen to the question. Let him finish asking the question before you take the answer. So go ahead.
Honorable Chairman, I'm a licensed auctioneer. I started this practice around 2007. I've been auctioning for almost I've auctioned about 4 or 5 different ministries. So I said.
Before this very one?
Before this very one.
You mentioned the names of the ministries.
Some are Ministry of Justice, Attorney General Justice. I've auctioned there before. And since the time, that's what I want to, and I'm sorry about the last. Okay. Since the time the auditors, they gave me a procedure which the auction process follows. So I sat down with them, and in fact, they gave me a thorough that anytime we are doing auctioning, after auctioning, I should make sure I attach the publication, because that is the evidence that shows that the sales that I did was transparent. So I told them that this one, I'm very, very sorry, because since 2011...
Auctioneer, stop it there. Did you or did you not publish or advertise in a national newspaper?
I published it, but it wasn't...
Which national newspapers did you publish?
It's that we normally do our publication.
So can you give us copies of the publication?
Zero evidence.
We are talking about this particular auction.
Mr. Chair, Honorable Chair, this particular auction, that the publication, we were a team who has been doing this work. This particular auction, that since 2011 to 2013, my subordinate who has been doing the publication on my behalf, and in fact we had some confrontation with him. So, and since I don't have
Auctioneer, you are reminded that you are under oath. You have said just a few minutes ago that you indeed published or advertised this particular auction in Ghanaian Times. Do you stand by that, or you want to change your mind?
Honorable, I have not all of them that I can, but I have some of the publications.
Mr. Chairman, the auctioneer is not being truthful with this committee, and I'm reminding him that you are a candidate for perjury.
Meanwhile, the acting chief director of the ministry, Benjamin Jesse, has admitted they were wrong in their actions and asked that they be cautioned instead of punishment.
And honorable members, actually, we've gone through the reports, and we've admitted. We are before you to admit that we faulted as a ministry. But going forward, we learned our lesson. So the auction activities that have taken place after this one, they have followed the procedure. And that is the response we are bringing. We are admitting and we are assuring the House that we've learned our lesson and we have not repeated and we will not repeat it moving forward. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
So, Acting Chief Director, if I take your submission as lawyers will say, or just self what? You are now. What should be the punishment that you want the committee to recommend?
Honorable Chair, I would plead that you caution us to go and sin no more.
Well, we've heard it, but we'll still go on and interrogate the
Let's now hear the Director of Engineering Services Department, George K. Bintuo, who's also been responding to questions on the same issue.
You are supposed to know where the vehicle is, where it is going to be auctioned. You are supposed to have a representative to be at the place of auction to oversee the various steps that should be taken to make sure that you protect the public purse and the public property. It therefore behoves very, very much to our disappointment that you as the head didn't even know what was going on in your premises and the safeguards you have to do to the public purse and the public activity. What do you say to that?
Honorable Chair, I may have to come out properly. Properly in the sense that these issues happened 2011 to 2013 when I wasn't the director. But even at that time, we had a deputy director who was handling these issues. And he is also on retirement now. So it becomes difficult that issues that have happened behind is loaded onto somebody who wasn't part. But if you go into my responses, I have said that after that audit, work that we have done has gone on properly, and I have evidence to show that in my time, that is from 2014 to date, we have done the right thing, and we have evidence here to show.
So these incidents actually occurred a while ago, but let's take you live to Parliament now because the Public Accounts Committee is still sitting, and we'll take you live now to the premises.
There's a point about this money not being properly earned, and you agree to this committee?
I don't understand. I don't understand because as I sit here now, I will not be able to recall that Ocean 1 were 10 vehicles, Ocean 2 for 24 different oceans. I can't.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I must be candid in stating that the ministry was not properly prepared before appearing before this committee today. It is quite clear that there was some documentation which would have been very useful for this exercise. The director has admitted severally about having a file containing various documents. And if only they had taken the appearance today very seriously and had prepared adequately, I believe that perhaps some of these questions would have been put to rest. Because I truly fail to understand how the total figures can be arrived at on the basis of which a commission that by and large is not deserved. Because most of these vehicles were allocated to staff. And as was indicated by Honorable earlier, the requirement would be that only 3% of the proceeds should go to the auctioneer. First of all, you have not given us the list, the make, the year. You've given us the total, but quite clearly, you have taken 7% of the total amount. I think in as much as we may accept the general apology of this having happened in the past, we still have an obligation towards the good people of Ghana to ask for a refund. I don't think that we should allow the auctioneer to keep the 7% when, in fact, what is contained in the audit report does not merit the type of work that should give him 7% of the proceeds. And I want to know whether the authorities from MOFA would agree with this suggestion.
Chief Director.
Honorable Chair, I want to say that looking at the section from the Auction Sales Act that was quoted, and together with the detailed reports on the number of vehicles that were sold and the quantity that were allocated to staff, then I may say that proportionately we can work that one out. I don't want to say yes, I don't want to give yes or no answer, but I do admit on the basis of the relevant section quoted that if we can work out properly, then we may ask the auctioneer to refund the undeserved earnings.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a follow-up question to this?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chief Director. If you look at the auction sales law, even the 7%, all that it says is that in ordinary normal auction, the percentage should not exceed 7%. What it means then is that even if we are not looking at it from the point where I read, you could have even had some kind of negotiation with him, having regard to the quantum of work he was going to do. So the law only gives a ceiling of 7%, but doesn't take away your power of negotiation to even beat it down, assuming we're even going to apply that provision. Couldn't you have done that?
Honorable Chair, in practice, that is not done. In practice, no, I'm telling you what happens on the ground.
It's telling us what they do.
Yes.
It could be right, it could be wrong.
In practice, auctioneers take 7% of the proceeds that they realize, and the surplus is paid into the non-tax revenue account.
Honorable Mavis, your question, your substantive question.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is to Mr. J, the auctioneer. From the explanation that you've given to this committee, what I gathered is that the staff of MOFA interfered with your job. Is that true or not?
It's true.
It is true. Okay, perfect. So then, have you, all the proceeds that came from the auction, have they been paid by the staff?
They have been paid.
And was it paid with interest?
With interest?
Yes. Because of the delays?
No.
Why?
Okay.
Why? If no.
Mr. J, if no, why? Why didn't they pay with interest?
Honorable Chair, because I can't calculate the interest, the rates on it. To be very difficult.
Is that the only reason why?
To be very difficult for me to calculate the interest on it.
Honorable Mavis, let me do a follow-up to your question. Auctioneer, you have been doing this work since 2007, almost 10 years now. When you auction, you are supposed to collect the proceeds within 24, is it 24?
Yeah, 24 hours.
24 hours.
1 day.
Now, by experience, what is the average time period within which you have been collecting the proceeds and pay to the account?
Honorable Chair, to be honest with you, some of the vehicles that we normally sell, most of them, some are even, they are all scattered. Some are within maybe other regions. So sometimes you find it very difficult to get all the money within 24 hours, because when you finish with Accra, maybe...
I'm only asking you, what is the average time frame? I'm not saying that why you haven't collected within 24 hours. The average, does it take you 1 month, 2 months, 2 days, 3 days, average, to collect the money and pay to the accounts?
Honorable Chair, when I'm selling it without interference of the staff, the list will be a week.
A week. But if where there is staff involved, then it will be how long? That one, it will be how long?
When the staff gets involved, it takes sometimes a month.
A month?
Or more.
Or more? Up to? Up to what? No, I'm serious.
Up to the time that...
Up to the 29 months, which is 2 years, 5 months, 2 years or 2.5 years. Now, as a professional, where there's a delay in the revenue collection, does your profession, the law that under which you operate, says that the amount must attract interest? Does the law say that?
Honorable Chair, I've never cited that when it takes a long time, it should attract interest on it.
So even if you take 10 years, you still collect the same amount and pay to government account?
Honorable Chair.
No, I'm asking. The law didn't say anything that.
So, okay, let's.
So if it's even 10 years, you collect the same amount?
The same amount.
Okay, we'll find out. Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think the situation should not arise from what he is saying. Because when you auction unserviceable vehicles, even at different locations, you are supposed to pay before you go and pick the vehicle. So the issue of interest should not apply. If the man doesn't pay and pick his vehicle, mandatory period, you can re-auction that to another person. So that's why I think the situation...
So as an auctioneer, by allowing the vehicle to be picked without you first collecting the money, it's amounting to work no done?
Honorable Chair, no one has picked a car like the 29 months that we are saying. The car was not picked. It was in a fitting a workshop.
So after they finished paying, before they pick the car? Before
they pick the car. Because if you pick it...
But when they do not pay within the mandatory period, why didn't you go back and re-auction the car?
Honorable Chair, this car was strictly allocated to...
The cars were, not was.
The vehicle was allocated...
Where allocated? It's not only one, there are many.
It's only... We are talking about the 20, because the 29 months, I don't think it's all the vehicle. It was one particular vehicle.
Okay. So you know that vehicle very well?
Unless I go through my documents, because
you are saying that it's only one vehicle, so you know that vehicle. How much did you receive as your commission for this transaction for Ministry of Food and Agriculture?
7%.
How much in total, in amount, not in percentage?
Is it for the
entire work that you did for Ministry of Food and Agriculture for this one?
It will be about 33,000.
So you've collected all?
It was in a... It wasn't,
phases, so...
It wasn't...
But if you put all of them together, it amounts to 33,000.
33,000.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm that you have actually received that much. Maybe do you have any... Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order.
You have a point of...
If you can indulge me, please.
Point of order against me? But against who?
I just want to put some...
That shouldn't be a point of order. It shouldn't be a point of order, but I'll allow you to speak.
Thank you very much. Mr. I just want to remind the committee, it looks like today we have been so lenient in dealing with some infractions of the law.
No, but we haven't taken any decision.
Please, let me land. Because, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, right from the beginning of this exercise, the ministry admitted that they have gone through a process which are so much full of infractions, and they pleaded for leniency. Mr. Chairman, your own submission, and then that of the ranking member, clearly stated that the demeanor of the auctioneer is such that he is not even taking this very exercise serious. We have spent almost close to 1.5 hours going around the questions, asking him, and then he provided the same answer to us. I should think that the journey of the Auditor General's report to this committee has passed through a lot of processes. One, the ministry was given the chance to respond to the audit queries and were asked to reply within 30 days. All these ones...
Honorable Member, I'm not cutting you short.
Yeah.
That is something, those information were information you should have provided to the committee when we go to close-down meeting.
Yeah, please.
To guide us in taking our decisions.
Yes.
Mr.
Chairman, I understand. I was just following what you submitted, the remarks that you made. And I thought that from that remark, with your indulgence, we are even going to discharge the auditee without we going round and he providing an answer that is making the whole committee seem as if we are just interested in just he giving these answers and then we going back.
No, I said earlier on from the beginning that after the plea was made by the acting chief director, I said, despite that, we'll still go and interrogate. The plea will guide the committee in arriving at our conclusion and then the recommendation. So, Honorable Member, please, I beg you.
Mr. Chairman, but I believe that he has overstayed.
So follow up. There is nothing to follow up.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman, first of all, I want us to look at page 12. Page 12. I want us to look at page 12. Yes. On the flow chart. Chairman, I'm confused. If you look at the flow chart, the last column, accounting for proceeds. Entity accountant issues receipt to successful bidders. Then if you go to the third one, Auctioneer renders accounts or process to the entity. I don't know which comes first. Because I will assume that an accountant will issue receipts only after he has received money. So I'm just asking the auditors to look at that. It doesn't seem to fit.
That is the process they have at the Ministry of Finance.
Then my second issue is to the minister or the Minister of Agriculture. I'm wondering why you had to use one auctioneer for 23 auctions. 23 auctions and then one auctioneer for one. You see, you can hear the auctioneer saying that there are so many places and it's scattered and, explaining that are some of the reasons why he did such a shoddy job, if I should put it. So what was the motivation for allowing an auctioneer who is obviously overburdened to continue to take care of all your auctions? As I can see from some of the documents you brought, he is still probably the only auctioneer that you know, in spite of what happened in 2013. I want you to answer why, because obviously that led to inefficiencies, if I should put it mildly. Then, do you want to answer that first?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Okay, then, Mr. Chairman, I also have a difficulty. If you read the letter from the Chief of Staff, where he saying that, I think section 5, the one issued on February 2015, as current as that, he's quoting a directive that was issued in 1985. I'm aware that
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The two questions the Honorable has asked, I think, borders in the administration of the Chief of Staff. All the auctioneers are registered with them, and when an entity has, a public entity has unserviceable vehicles to auction, you only write and inform the Chief of Staff, and the Chief of Staff will assign an auctioneer to come and do it. So why one particular person has been doing it and has done 23 auctions, we will not know the basis for the choice from the Chief of Staff. When he appears with a valid letter from the Chief of Staff, the entity cannot question why this particular auctioneer. And at the same time, the second question also refers to why the Chief of Staff's office will continue in his letters referring to the old procedures instead of the new procedure. So maybe those are the things that maybe they will also pick from this meeting that is brought to their attention, that there is a new law or new procedure that has been provided.
Thank you, Chairman. Would you agree that probably it would be better if this business of appointing auctioneers and approving auctions is taken away from the Chief of Staff and given to another entity? The Chief of Staff is very overburdened, and he's a very political animal. I'm sure we will save him a lot of trouble if this job is taken away from him, so that all of us who feel we are party people will not go to the Chief of Staff expecting favors and asking to be allocated cars and all that. Don't you think we will be making a little bit more money if I'm just asking a general question. If that particular business is taken away from the Chief of Staff, maybe... Honourable Member,
are you proposing that the powers of the Chief of Staff be curtailed?
Yes, I'm doing that.
Is that what you are proposing?
Yes.
So that we take it away from the Chief of Staff?
Yes.
And then we'll give it to another body?
Some entity under Ministry of Finance. After all, this is money business. It does not got in it. So that, you see, the Chief of Staff, by the nature of his position,
okay,
all party members go to Chief of Staff.
That's your proposal. And I think that I'm not sure that we should seek the view of maybe the minister. What is your view on that?
I think it should be our view, and not everybody's view.
I'm asking for your view. Mine could be different.
I think it's a control mechanism when you look at it, because otherwise people will even decide to auction vehicles that are still serviceable. And it's a general control mechanism, because you are supposed to forward a list of the vehicles, their location, their condition, before they assign you an auctioneer. But if they say we can do the process ourselves, the various entities, I'm sure the next time will not have even vehicles running on the road.
New vehicle could become unserviceable.
Chairman, I have last one.
Final follow-up.
Chairman, on valuation, over the years, several years ago, we probably had only State Transport Corporation as the only transport company. I cannot understand why, for instance, State Transport Corporation will be the sole entity valuing Japanese Toyota cars, all cars. Where I'm sure they don't deal in Toyota cars, they don't deal in Nissan cars. Wouldn't it be better if these valuations are done by the dealers, the certified dealers of the manufacturers? At least they know the vehicle. You can see that State Transport doesn't really do any valuation. The people just go there and give them prices and they write. You can see from afar. So I'm making a recommendation.
You are making a controversial statement.
I'm making a recommendation that valuation should be done by manufacturers of those cars.
Point of order, if you could rephrase
you can independent other things, because
anything.
Would you allow me to finish, please?
No, I'm just saying.
Let me allow me to
You've
land.
made a point.
Allow me to land. Allow me to land.
And I'm just saying, if you could, because the institution is not here to respond to that. Okay.
I've not indicted anybody. I'm saying that valuation.
Can you make your proposal?
Yes, I'm proposing
without saying that
Okay, understand.
People just go to STC, they don't do the valuation and blah, blah, blah.
All
Can
right.
you remove
I'm just
that portion?
suggesting that valuation of vehicles should be done by the authorized dealers of those vehicles. At least they know the vehicles and they do a better job than those who don't deal in those vehicles. Thank you.
Well, that's a suggestion. So a follow-up, then I come to you.
Alex Matt, this one goes to the questionnaire, the auctioneer. Auctioneer, I'm referring to your letter, paragraph 5. Paragraph 5. They said that where a serving officer of the company wishes to purchase any saloon car, so does pickup form part of saloon cars, pickups?
No.
So who is you have this report?
August.
Stephen Abasi. Stephen Abasi.
Abasi.
Who is he? Who is he?
Oh. Stephen Abasi. He's he's not a staff, so I may not know him. He's not a staff. He's a staff.
Yes. Yes, he's a staff.
He's a staff.
Yes.
You know him personally. I don't know him as staff.
So you can see that you sold good number of pickups to staff of Mufa.
Remember, use the mic. You always forget not to use the mic.
Honorable Chair, I sold some to the staff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Chief Director, I think the auctioneer has made this admission right from the start. So, honorable member, it is not something he has denied. So that's for the records.
Honorable Ras Mubarak.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Chair. Now, Minister of State, one of the reasons an MDA would auction a vehicle would be for the fact that the costs of maintenance, because it's become obsolete and unserviceable. Now, between spending money or public funds to service tired and old vehicles and paying for the cost of an auctioneer, which would you choose? Because I asked this question based on an earlier answer by Chief Director where the ministry seemed to have difficulty in paying for the costs that would come from the auctioneer. So I'm asking, between hiring and paying for that cost and using a vote from your goods and services to continuously service vehicles that should be auctioned off, which would you choose?
Honorable Chairman, I will choose not to misapply funds. It will be tantamount to misapplication. I know you are driving at if the cost of servicing and whatnot, and cost of paying for an auctioneer. And that's what I'm saying. We budget to service vehicles. But when a vehicle is beyond service, that's when it is written off. But at the time you are budgeting, you have no idea which vehicle is going to break down. Vehicles that get involved in accidents and those things. So
So that's actually the Public Accounts Committee sitting currently before. The committee are officials from the Ministry of Agric. Now, they've been admitting to some errors in auctioning vehicles. So meanwhile, the Public Accounts Committee has threatened to charge the auctioneer with perjury for failing to tell the truth about their transactions with the ministry. That'll be all for Joy News today. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. My name is Benis Abubedu. Do enjoy the rest of your day.